slow, fake woke, facts don't care about feelings.
Doom Nation, what's up? We are back. As always, thank you guys for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We know you're smart enough to do so. It's been a few days since our last episode.
Yes.
First and foremost,
What you got? You got treats?
got some treats.
Captain's always got some treats.
Make sure to check out the Doomed review of Captain Dynamite IPA from Voodoo Ranger.
That just came out last Wednesday by the time this releases.
Cheers, good sir.
Cheers.
Voodoo Ranger's doing something right, man.
Good way to start an episode. I also want to thank everybody in Doom Nation. Our most recent episode, the GameStop and impeachment, had an insane amount of views for a regular full episode. As of right now, it has like 140 views. It's like the most for a full episode ever. When we post like shorter things, they get a lot of views because they're a few minutes, but never like a full episode's got that many views. It might have something to do with the topic. GameStop was so popular, and I think Gab.
Yeah,
we've been using this social media website called Gab. It's very like politically motivated, everything, and so if people from Gab are listening, shout out to you guys. Thanks for watching our episode.
Because we've been seeing bigger numbers immediately on Gab compared to Instagram.
Gab is not manipulated the way, like the algorithms are not manipulated the way that Instagram, Facebook, etc. Where if you post shit, only a certain amount of people will see it.
Yeah.
Even if you have, 30,000 followers, only like 200 people will see it. It's weird.
And
they're manipulating everything.
I just wish Gab worked better.
It's so overloaded with new traffic. It's they'll get there eventually.
But that's a good thing if everybody's heading over there. So, but what makes Gab any different than Parler? Because Parler was an app and Gab is like a website.
The difference with Gab, you mean in terms of how why can't they just censor Gab or shut it off or anything like that? You're asking like why they can't do that? Gab is, first of all, it's a website only. It doesn't have an app, so it's not relying on Apple
Downloads,
or Android, the App Store, like Apple, those companies. So it's just a website, and the owner, his name is Andrew Torba. He owns the servers and everything. So the only way that it would get taken down is if like the government, like shut the internet off or removed its, used the military,
which
or
is
probably
like a possibility.
Not impossible, right? Not impossible, but highly unlikely.
All right, so here we are. It was last week was a turbulent week. I stayed out of current events after the whole Wall Street bets and the impeachment and Como, and they are actually still fighting with Como. They are trying to do whatever they can to keep this story.
Yeah, you sent me something before, but I didn't have enough time today to look into it. But we got a couple things that we're going to talk about today. I figured we'd change it up. We've kind of covered recent topics and like news that's happening right away, and sometimes me and you want to talk about other stuff, and we haven't even been able to get into that stuff. So I feel like this is a good time. This is going to be the second episode this week. We could kind of go into a little bit other things that we normally didn't get to talk about because of the news and Biden and everything. Like so much is coming at you so fast. There's only so long to talk about.
Shooting from the hip, as
let's start real quick talking about what we were just listening to before.
Oh man, our new boy. We love this guy. His message has been what our message has been about. He's just going about it in a much cooler way, I guess. Tom MacDonald. If you know who I'm talking about, his new single, Fake Woke, is blowing up.
Yeah.
He's got over like 3 million views on this.
It's actually the song that you guys listened to start this episode, which I'm going to use to start this. We've used his songs on the audio side, not on YouTube, for the past 2 episodes. I think it was called...
No Lives Matter.
Yeah, No Lives Matter.
So he's this rapper from Canada, all covered in tattoos, crazy looking dude, but whatever, we don't judge about that. And we first found him, I just found, somebody created a meme, and it was a clip of his song, No Lives Matter, and then we looked more into it, then Fake Woke just dropped, and that shot up the charts to #1. He also has, things like Straight White Male, Everybody Hates Me, and then some other, Politically Incorrect or something. And his message is like, you have all these rappers out there who talk about, fast cars and banging hoes and taking Xanax and stuff. but that's like what the agenda is to push on you, where he's talking about how if you're white and you support Black Lives Matter, you can't be a Trump supporter. If you're, you know what I mean? Like, if you're not a racist bigot, then you must be Antifa. Like, it's almost like both sides have painted each other into like this ridiculous corner. And he calls out just how overly sensitive everyone is, that sooner or later, like, the truth is just going to be illegal. I mean, the big line for fake woke is facts don't care about your feelings. And that's the problem with everyone, because everyone only cares about their feelings. No one cares about the facts anymore.
Yep. His songs are very political, and the first time you sent it to me, it resonated with me a lot. That's why I started using it as the intro to our show the past 2 episodes, because I felt like it kind of encapsulates a lot of the stuff that me and you talk about, too. It really, really hit home with me. So definitely check him out, Tom MacDonald. He's on YouTube. He's on everywhere now. He's blowing up.
Tattoos all over him. You'll know him when you see him. But yeah, check him out, Fake Woke.
So, all right, let's get into a couple of the things that I guess. Let's start with this. This was super important. And back on January 14th, so this got totally swept under the rug by the media, and me and Chris didn't really have much time to talk about it, although I think we mentioned it briefly. There was an article that Newsweek put out about a peer-reviewed study of these scientists, these European scientists. And these European scientists, they did some research on whether or not the forced lockdowns actually helped preventing the spread of COVID in any way whatsoever. So let me read the Newsweek article first a little bit, and then we'll chime in. So it's by Natalie Colorosi, and this was on January 14th. And she says that a study evaluating COVID-19 responses around the world found that mandatory lockdown orders early in the pandemic may not provide significantly more benefits to slowing the spread of the disease than other voluntary measures, such as social distancing or travel reductions. If you remember in the beginning of COVID, we didn't really hang out. We did everything virtual. Yeah. Those were really voluntary things. We didn't need...
We got together a few times, but then, like, as shit got crazier, we were like, all right, now we need to start,
that was voluntary. We didn't need Cuomo to tell us not to do that. Just, that's just inputting some of our own personal experience there. And then it goes on to say, the peer-reviewed study was published in the European Journal of Clinical Investigation on January 5th, and it analyzed coronavirus case growth in 10 countries in early 2020. The study compared cases in England, France, Germany, Iran, Italy, Netherlands, Spain, and the United States, all countries that implemented mandatory lockdown orders and business closures. And it compared them to South Korea and Sweden, which instituted less severe voluntary responses. It aimed to analyze the effect that less restrictive or more restrictive measures had on changing individual behavior and curbing the transmission of the virus. The researchers used a mathematical model to compare countries that did not enact more restrictive lockdown orders and determined that there was no clear, significant, beneficial effect of more restrictive measures on case growth in any country. If you don't understand what I just said, these researchers figured, right, by comparing countries that did do the lockdowns and countries that really didn't do the lockdowns, that the ones that did do the lockdowns, there was no significant beneficial effect on the case growth, on the spread, on the growth of the virus.
You pointed this out way back when, but if you look over in Europe and places like Italy and France and the UK and stuff, they basically took what the Democrats here wanted us to do. Lockdown, don't go outside, don't see anyone, wear a mask when you shower, continuously just be socially distanced, do all the lockdown stuff, and then they ended up going into a second lockdown. So this democratic way never worked, but they continued pushing it.
Yeah, like in most of these countries, they never really came out of a lockdown either.
Yeah.
So let me continue, because there's a little bit more I want to say here. And then the article goes on to say, these scientists said that we don't question the role of all public health interventions or of coordinated communications about the epidemic, but we fail to find an additional benefit of stay-at-home orders and business closures, the research said. Now, this is where it gets interesting in regards to this article. Because now this article from Newsweek starts to go... When you're a reporter, you're supposed to just report unbiasedly and not put your own spin. But this article now starts to defend lockdowns, right, guys, as I'm reading this article. So now the article goes, however, the researchers also acknowledged that the study had limitations and noted that cross-country comparisons are difficult. That's true. Culture in the United States is different from culture in Sweden. Since nations have different rules, cultures, relationships between their government and citizenry, right? And then this article goes on to cite other scientific studies saying how, lockdowns did help, right? So I was confused, right? I'm like, this article seems like it's showing this study, and the study is saying that lockdowns don't
necessarily work, yeah.
So I said, you know what? I have to go and read the actual study because this article is putting its political bias spin on it. So I go to read the actual study, and boy, the study is damning of lockdowns. Absolutely damning. This article.
This was a puff piece.
This was a puff piece, basically, of quoting this study, but not really. The study was damning, right? The article leaves out that the study says that if there are any lockdown benefits at all, they are completely outweighed by the number of harms a lockdown does. That's directly from the study. And let me see what their names are. I want to give them credit here. The study was done by Erin Ben David, Christopher O, J. Bhattacharya, and John P. Lonidis. And it's in the European Journal of Clinical Investigation. And if you think I was telling you this before, if you think like these four guys are a bunch of crackpot scientists, fossil fuel, you know how sometimes people say don't believe the science, and believe the science and don't believe
all the
science
doctors
and all this
that
shit.
Wanted HQC, we don't believe those.
This is peer-reviewed, and if you're not familiar with what peer-reviewed means, it's the process that any scientist, any academic uses when they write a thesis or they write a paper. They write a paper and they put their information on it, and then they circulate it amongst other scientists. The other scientists review it, give them the okay, and then once like a bunch of them have peer-reviewed it, peers are your peers, like there are other scientists, say, yeah, this is good, I agree, what your research here makes sense. Go ahead, publish it. That's exactly what happens. So this is not some kind of cockamamie crackpot bullshit. This is peer-reviewed information saying that lockdowns had absolutely no effect whatsoever on like containing the spread of COVID. And not only did they have no effect, but they actually made things worse in other regards. As we and you have said all the time, depression, poverty, businesses going out. Yeah,
people have just completely they've lost their minds, completely gone insane.
Yep.
I've been hearing more. This is February 2021. This started in March 2020. I am still hearing stories of, oh, we just got so-and-so out for the first time. Oh, my friend, in Pennsylvania still hasn't left their house since last March. Like, damn. It's almost to the point, though, like, you know what? Better off society. I don't think society needs people that would listen to something like this deeply to, like, not leave your house for the past 11 months. You know?
Dude, I'm so tired of that. The lockdowns and the government propaganda around them. I feel that coronavirus is dangerous. We've never said that it really wasn't. It's a real thing. But they've created this like propaganda, paranoia that has really psychologically affected people. And this is what I've been telling you and some of our other friends all week. I've had it up to here with this stuff, and it's changed the way people behave. Our friends, even some of them have gotten lazy. They don't want to go hang out. There's some people I haven't seen since the beginning of the pandemic. I'm fucking tired of it.
To me, this was all like I said on the Wild Side the other day with the radio. This was as much as this virus was real, it was a political, biological weapon. We in this country were imprisoned. And now that, Biden's in office, everything is changing. I had the statistic of the day Biden was inaugurated was a record high day for, I believe, deaths or ICU entries, whatever, of COVID patients. And a week later, Newsom is getting ready to open up stuff while the numbers are still going up. It was never about a virus. This was always about an election. I have here from Disclosed TV. You've probably seen them a lot on like Instagram and YouTube and stuff. New COVID-19 infections are down 44% in the U.S. and 30% globally in the last 3 weeks. This came out today, February 3rd, 2021. The WHO, World Health Organization experts are baffled about this phenomenon and say vaccines cannot be the main driver. Well, let's see. The election ended. Pfizer finally announced they had a vaccine. Trump's out of office. Chicago, New York, California, all ready to start opening. Today, New Jersey does away with its restrictions this Friday, 2 days from now.
On bars and dining and
bars,
curfews,
dining, curfews, gyms, and all that stuff. The World Health Organization is baffled that there's a drop by 44% in 3 weeks. The WHO also changed their testing methods. Remember,
that's what I was going to say. That probably has something to do with it.
So now that the guy who says mean tweets is gone, and we got this sleepy old fuck who just keeps signing his name wrong on whatever executive order he feels like signing is in office, these numbers completely change now. You know what I mean? That's why, we'll get into it again, but we need to stay focused on this Como scandal with the nursing homes, because we have proof he lied. We have proof in Tennessee they lied. Remember months ago when they lied about the numbers and stuff? We know we've been lied to. What extent have we been lied to?
And then if you say something like he just said that we've been lied to, people will say, you're a denier. You don't care about grandma being, possibly dying. No, that's not the case. Why can't you talk about this shit? We're literally telling you things that are true. It's
because that's the propaganda from the media.
Yeah.
I saw this thing online and it made sense. Like, you want to know how you make everyone think they're sick? Make everyone act like they're sick. When you have the flu, you should be wearing a mask. When you have the flu, you should be socially distancing. When you have the flu, you should be quarantining. Obviously, when you have flu-like symptoms, you're not going to the gym and talking to everybody. Mm-hmm. But now, not just the sick people had to do that, even the healthy people had to do that. So now even healthy people who, not that are immune, but could withstand this virus for a period of time, had to quarantine and wear masks and socially distance. Everyone had to act sick. And then in your head, now...
Even if they weren't actually infected, you mean?
Exactly.
So I might not have actually been infected, not even to the point where I was asymptomatic.
Right.
I just stayed home and hid because of the threat of possibly
and
being
what
sick.
that does deep and psychologically in you changes you. And so I still have a little bit faith in people. I have... it's more based on our friends and our surroundings. So... when you went to Florida and you saw all the people, in that club going crazy, you were still a little standoffish. You were like, whoa, this is kind of dangerous still.
Yes.
Which is fine because you're a smart human being and there is a virus out there. But there's some people who, don't think that's ever going to get back to that, and I think once there's going to be a few nights out that everyone's going to start to have fun. And as quickly as things changed, I think things could quickly go back.
Yeah. That's not a bad point. You don't forget how to ride a bicycle. You get right back on and you get going again.
I think once things start getting normal and people start having fun again, I think the fear of it will start to reverse a little bit. But there is some changes because they did a study where they had a group of people and 5 people were wearing masks and 1 person wasn't wearing a mask, and they were like, out of this picture, who doesn't seem normal? And they keep picking the person without the mask. That's not normal.
Right.
He is the normal one. Just because we're in the middle of a pandemic, or maybe the tail end of a doesn't mean normal still isn't normal. This whole new normal agenda. Yeah. You have to think, before we had this technology, before we had the science, before we had medicine, the world has been fucked over countless times by numerous pandemics. And this is the one at the height of human existence is going to change the future forever. This is the one that breaks the mold. The
Great Reset, as they call it. Yeah.
This is just a power grab. That's why, I only believe so much of what I see and stuff, because with all these other pandemics that have ravaged nations, they all went back. There was no new normal. All of a sudden, we got this new normal pushed on us, and I call bullshit through and through.
A lot of that's virtue signaling too.
Yeah. Fake woke.
Yeah. people, you know how you're saying that if there's a group of 5 people and one of them is not wearing a mask, and they say which one's not normal, the mask. That's like virtue signaling. People, for example, someone's standing in the middle of Central Park by themselves, and there's not anybody around for half a mile, and they're wearing a mask. Why?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no need to wear a mask in that scenario. You actually shouldn't wear a mask in a scenario, right? You should take a moment to remove your mask
and breathe fresh air.
And enjoy life and have some sort of semblance of normalcy. And then if somebody comes along right next to you, put your mask back on. That's fine. But it's become this like, I'm part of the solution. So I'm going to wear the mask because I need to set an example for everybody, even if no one's around to see that I'm wearing a mask.
They're fake woke. It's just... And now the whole...
It's disheartening.
Now the whole 2-mask thing. We are 11 months into this pandemic. 11 months. How come 11 months ago we weren't going to wear 2 masks? If we started this off with wearing 2 masks, I could buy it. But now, now we need to wear 2 masks. I can't wait for somebody to come up to me while I'm wearing a mask and tell me to wear another mask. I'm going to go, between the 2 of us, there's 3 masks. What are you worried about at this point?
You know what's weird about that? Like you're saying, how come it's not wearing 2 masks is not like a high technology invention that they just came out, right? You know, I could have put 2 pieces of paper in front of my fucking face, 6 months ago. It's not like I invented something new. So how come? Yeah, you're right. How come that wasn't something they said in the beginning? You should actually wear multiple masks. It is very weird. Like I said, it's not like they just invented something new. No. At any moment in the history of masks, you could wear 2 masks. Yeah. This is not something that's brand new.
Now all of a sudden,
it's weird. I don't know. I understand the point of wearing 2 masks too, because there's 2 layers of fabric that the virus molecules would have to pass through, and there's a higher chance that the fabric will catch the virus particles after going through 2. It's like if you build 2 walls, if you build 2 walls and an invading army's coming in, they're going to have a harder time breaching 2 walls than 1. I get that.
But we're deciding
why
this 11
so late
months
in the game? Yeah. Very, very odd.
And that takes you into the conspiracy thing of only the sheep are wearing masks, and they're only just trying to label you as a servant or anything like that. But I mean, this is always the thing. I get it. The science isn't always there. But we're still just moving the goalpost, because now it's 2 masks, then it's going to be 3 masks. Everybody talked about the second wave of COVID. I was always talking about the 3rd wave. If the second wave wasn't scary enough, they would just make a 3rd wave. It's the new age boogeyman, no matter how we cut it.
For now.
Yeah, for now.
Next, domestic terrorism, sedition, insurrection, new laws. That's the next book. That's probably why they're easing off on COVID too.
Oh yeah,
because they've got the new thing now, the new ISIS, the new COVID. It was going to be domestic terrorism.
It's going to be more. We're so politically divided, and it's going to make it even easier to be politically divided, because they're just going to go, all Republicans are domestic terrorists. And let's talk about AOC, because she has driven me.
I don't want to talk about her. I don't want to give her any more attention.
The only thing I got to say is she didn't want to go to work the other day because she's afraid of Republicans. Then quit your job. You are an elected official to a 2-party fucking system. The other party is the Republican Party. I'm sorry. It's worked this way for 200 plus some odd years. Go to work. Put on your big girl pants. You got this amazing opportunity. Stop being a millennial. Just stop being a millennial about this shit. Fuck you.
I don't want to even give her the attention, because I've come to learn a lot of the stuff AOC does is to get attention, to put the spotlight on herself.
She's ridiculous.
And she'll say something she knows is going to trigger conservatives, and it'll trigger them, and they'll fall right into the trap. Then she's great at social media. She's great at arguing, and she'll come back and hit back hard. She's from the Bronx. She knows what she's doing.
The best.
So you know what? I don't want to even talk about her.
Yep. The new trending hashtag is Alexandria Cortez Somalia.
Oh, Smollett, yeah.
Smollett, whatever.
Because I don't even want to get into the whole,
So what do you got next over there?
Do you want to? This thing I wrote here. This is a lot. I don't know if you want to go into one of your points that you wrote down first, because this other, I had this. I don't want to get into this yet.
I only had a few things, because with the 2 snow days, I really. All right, so I had a question, because. It leads into conspiracies, but I've really pulled back from all the Q stuff ever since, like I said, I was going to ride the Trump train till the wheels fell off on January 20th. They didn't arrest everyone at the inauguration. Fine. Biden is president. I've kept in, tabs on some of the Q stuff. a lot of the crazies, the real crazies, have come out with, time traveling and faking deaths. And
even the stuff you were telling me today about Burma, Myanmar, and all that.
That's what I read, and you read something else. But anyway, so my thing is just the Biden as president is still just so weird and suspicious to me. What has he been doing other than signing executive orders? He's back in the basement. I said this. I always had this standpoint. Once you look, he campaigned from his basement. Fine. You're president now, bro. This basement shit ends. I'm sorry.
Step out and lead.
Yes, and I don't want to hear COVID is the reason this isn't going on, because we already have reports that 44% down. California, New York, Chicago, they all want to open up. This is the most popular president ever. He had the 80 million votes. He has the record-setting amount of votes ever. Okay. I'm not even taking it away from him. Where's his victory lap? Every president does a victory lap. Where's the big speech? You know what I mean? You're going to tell me that boring-ass speech that no one watched on YouTube during your inauguration was your big speech? Kamala Harris, it's something I don't even want to get into because people are not ready to have that conversation. They're not mature enough for that. Kamala Harris is the first female VP. She's not out on the road. Where's the big 24-hour CNN coverage? Where's the in-depth White House interview? You know what I mean? Like, all they have is a press secretary who doesn't have an answer for anything. Yeah. It's fucking strange.
It is strange. You're right.
The lights on at night, they don't even put the lights on in the White House.
Mm-hmm. It's strange. The both of them definitely have not been very visible. And you brought up a great point. What's her name? Paskey, Jen. I think Jen Paskey, right? She's been asked.
We'll circle back.
I remember from Obama being president and obviously from Trump being president that, they have their press secretary, but they too would come out sometimes to take questions, especially Obama did that a lot. Yeah. I appreciate that about
this
Obama.
This isn't about what party he is. You're the most popular candidate ever. Listen.
He's been invisible.
I'm not even pushing my own agenda or thoughts on. I'm agreeing with the media. I'm agreeing with the story that was given to us. It doesn't add up. If you're the most popular candidate of all times, you should be flying coast to coast every day. You should be all over the place. If you're this popular, you can move fucking mountains, and you're back in the basement. Kamala Harris everybody should be fighting to get an interview from the first female VP.
Right.
Where is it? Where is it?
Yeah, they haven't been very visible. I'm going to push back on you saying they should be flying from coast to coast, having crowds of people. They're not going to do that. They're Democrats. And
because no one's going to show up.
But I'm saying that's one point. But they've spun the pandemic. You can't have crowds of people, etc. But he could have, interviews one-on-one.
Address the nation.
He could go on, virtual, whatever. Yeah. I agree. He's not been very visible. The only times I've seen any real videos of him or when he's signing one of the 40-something executive orders that he signed.
And somebody asked him, aren't you getting out of control with all the executive orders? He's like, I'm not signing in executive orders. I'm changing bad past policies. You increased the price of insulin, bro. They're
debatable. Whether they were good or bad is debatable.
Yeah, I don't care about the rest of these. You increased the price of medicine. Tell me how this is a bad policy. I just, maybe because I'm biased, maybe I'm a Trumpster. I don't get it, but this wasn't a bad policy.
I posted something yesterday on our Instagram, and it was something that our friend sent to us, and it was the White House posted a few of the executive orders Biden took, and one of them was creating a task force to find separated families. I think that's actually, I'll give Biden credit, I think that's a good idea, right? Because with the detention and the border stuff, families get separated, and it sucks, right? And that's something good, I feel like, right? Another one was undoing the wall, stopping
I knew
construction.
It was going to happen, so I don't care.
And another one was reversing the Muslim ban.
But then he made another travel ban.
And then there was one other one, I forget what it was, but I was...
Oh, was that orange circle?
Yeah, I was saying, I'm like, all right. I agree morally with some of these things, but how do these things necessarily make anything better for American citizens?
They don't, because it's not America first anymore.
The other. Okay, I remember now. The other one was extending DACA, right? And then another one was helping people on something about a path to citizenship. Like I said, morally, I think some of those morally are good ideas, right? But you're highlighting these things that are really just virtue signaling, right? Because morally they sound good, but they're not really like concrete helping any actual Americans right now. And that's going to sound really mean, right? That I'm saying that
but
getting families back together is not helping American people, but
we have to worry about ourselves. Right. That's what Trump's whole message was: us first. Like, we have to fix our own shit first.
And look, I'm not saying you can't do both at the same time. No, you can, but obviously. They seemed to be. That post specifically was like highlighting virtue signaling.
It sounded great for immigrants.
It sounded great for the liberal elite woke people who are crybabies about everything. But and I was bringing up, I'm like, this doesn't sound like it's helping American people whatsoever. And I'll be honest with you, most of his executive orders are debatable how they're going to actually help the American citizen. As you're going to say, I'm a racist or whatever. I'm not, right? I'm just talking about American citizens who need help right now.
Yeah, there's Americans in need. Bottom line, America's not as good as everyone thinks it is, that we could just get everyone else in the world and make them better. There's Americans hungry, poor, dying in the streets. But there's a $10 million gender program in Pakistan going on right now. You know, there's going to be abortions overseas that we pay for. Right. I get to pay for killing babies, so I'm glad.
Have you seen the lines of people in like Texas, looking, trying to get food because they're come on, man, people need help, obviously. But there wouldn't be a line 30 miles long of cars lined up to get free food if people weren't like hurt.
America first was a bad policy. I mean, you got to start agreeing with them at some point. If I start agreeing with them, you're going to see how stupid some of this shit actually is. You know who really benefited from all of Biden's executive orders? The Keystone Pipeline workers. I mean, they are so happy to be unemployment. They could go make solar panels now.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. That they even who suggested
John
that?
Kerry.
John Kerry suggested.
And then he fucking flew a private jet to get his environmental award, and he said it's the only option for someone like me. Motherfucker, we voted you in. You are someone like you is no different than someone like me. If I had the votes, I'd be someone like you.
Right, but that goes across the board for almost all.
Yeah,
it's all do as I say, but not as I do. So John Kerry, we have to be green. He's the climate czar or whatever now, in charge of the green everything. But he goes and takes a private jet everywhere. Yeah. Dude, you have to lead by example. Like Fauci, you got to lead by example. You can't be photographed without a mask. Or Cuomo, you can't. Or Gavin Newsom, you can't go to a restaurant when you've made it. You have to lead by example, especially when you're making big asks of people, right? Lose your job, don't close your business, stay inside. You can't. Those are huge asks to make of people. Yeah. You can't go and then do those things that you've told people to not do.
Everybody who has suffered through the pandemic, all these people that you praise from the left and the right, it doesn't matter. Not a single one of them missed a single paycheck. Not a single one of them missed a single bill that needed to be paid. Hell, they all got raises. Okay? I mean, people want to be woke and they want a virtue signal, and just because you voted for Team Blue, you need this Green New Deal. No. You're just taking more money away. You're going to cost us more in taxes for people who don't have the money to pay these taxes, and you're only supporting imagine what is it when you're kidnapped and you fall in love with the kidnapper? It's some syndrome or whatever.
I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember. It's almost like a situation like that. Like, they are so happy to see that these politicians are fucking us left and right.
But people don't think they're fucking us. Yeah, people hear the Green New Deal and we need to change, our power infrastructure to green energy and stuff like that. And that sounds great. And I agree with the sentiment there. Like, in the future, we should change everything over, but it's not gonna. It's not gonna. First of all, it's not gonna happen just like that.
And you're never going. The problem with the Green New Deal is, first off, if you think that raising taxes is going to stop climate change, God bless you, pal, in all of your future endeavors, because you got an uphill battle.
Maybe if we controlled the entire world,
yeah,
and the entire world was under our control and all followed the Green New Deal, okay, but they're not.
Well, you just made the point for the New World Order, one world government, but
that'll never happen because you think China's gonna fucking.
China is pushing for it because they got a seat at the head of the table.
Yeah, I get that, but in terms of the Green New Deal, China's trying to use that against us.
Yes. So, and now here's the other thing. So, if anybody wants to actually change and protect the climate and the environment, you need to go after China, Russia, and India. They are the 3 biggest polluters in the world. America is actually going to start polluting more now that we aren't making our own natural resources and we have to truck it in and ship it in and close in all the pipelines. Our emissions are actually going to go up under Joe Biden, where they went under when they went down under Trump. Okay, this isn't political. It just facts don't care about your feelings. Like, this is a fact. Right?
All right, Tom MacDonald.
Hey, I'm gonna use. He's got our message, so I'm gonna use it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so now with the Green New Deal, also, doesn't China have like a 10-year like a 10-year suspension where they don't have to pay into this, and after the 10 years is up, they could ask for an extension and
shit? The rules are way more strict for some reason on America than it is on the other countries, which are the countries who are responsible for most of the pollution. America's not that bad in terms of like carbon emissions. Like, it's bad, but we're not nowhere near the level of those other countries.
When China had to shut down Wuhan and all the factories because of the actual pandemic,
yeah, I remember that.
Pollution left the planet. And left the planet.
Yeah.
Like, you think Putin can get away with anything? We've said it multiple times. He's probably the richest person in the world because he doesn't have to report anything. He could just take everyone's money that he could get his hands on, and nothing can happen to him. The same goes. Where was I going with this now? Oh, so Russia doesn't have to give out any emission reports. They can make an emission report, and it could show that like they are the worst nation in the world for creating pollution, and they'll just go, all right, we're just going to forge the numbers. We can't rely on
their numbers,
a country where the leader can literally get away with whatever he wants to give us factual information.
Right.
And that's just more of the fake woke shit that, we got to be friends with everyone. You need to understand we have enemies. You don't go to school and see your school bully and like praise the fact that he's taking your lunch money from you. You know what I mean? Like, people want us to cut a deal with the school bully. Like, no, just give him 75% of your lunch money and he'll stop taking 100%. No, I want 100% of my lunch money.
But then at the same time, you only negotiate and make peace with your enemy, right? And then when, just play devil's advocate, not really even playing devil's advocate, but when somebody like Trump goes and meets with an enemy, a Kim Jong-un, he gets shit for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When World War II was happening, the Allies met with Hitler a few times before, even though they were adversaries. Why? Because you only make peace with your enemy. Mm-hmm. You only try to make peace with your enemy. If you just never have a conversation, of course you're going to end up in a more adversarial. That's the problem with society in general right now, right? No one talks to each other. Exactly. So everyone's adversaries.
Yeah. And, and on top of it, Trump wasn't, well, I won't say he wasn't part of it because a lot of money went to the military, but the war machine's back in full swing, baby.
Yes.
They're sending people. All the troops that Trump was trying to take out of Afghanistan, they put a stop to that, and they're sending more over.
Yeah, they're also teasing war with Iran and the nuclear deal. Kyle Kulinski, he's from Secular Talk Radio. He pointed out the other day that the Biden administration is saying we're not going to come back to the negotiating table with Iran until they start adhering to the Iranian nuclear deal rules that we set forth before. And Kyle Kulinski was like, well, but we didn't, adhere to the rules anymore under the Trump administration. It's like, how can we ask them to do something that we didn't do? If you want to come back to the negotiating table, you have to have like a common ground meeting place. You can't just,
I'll shorten that. They're not going to go to the negotiating table. Why?
They want the war.
Because we need a
They want the war. Yeah.
That's all it comes down to. We just need a new war. It's boring, guys. We voted for Biden. We're unified now. Let's go fuck somebody up. All right? We're unified. Let's go fuck a country up.
Yeah. The military-industrial complex has got,
the
they're
war
back
machine.
in business.
Yeah. goddamn help us.
You want me to go into my? I don't know.
I don't even know what it is, so I'm excited here. If you're this scared, man.
I'm not scared. I'm not scared. It's just this is really like going out on a limb and just like giving my thoughts.
Listen, I could go out on limbs after limbs, so dive away.
How far have you gotten in? I don't know if anybody else has watched it, but how far did you get in Man in the High Castle?
I didn't even start it yet. I told you guys about it, and you guys ran off with it. Yeah.
So if anybody's not aware, The Man in the High Castle is a show on Amazon. And it's basically an alternate history where the Nazis and the Japanese win World War II, and they take over America and the rest of the world. So this is like a little spoiler warning, but I'm not going to really spoil anything. Later on in the show, I'm in the last season, season 4. The Nazis in America have adopted this Year One policy, it's called. And what this Year One policy stands for is like we're starting at year 1 of the Reich.
The new history. The
new history, right? And the Year One policy erases, their goal is to erase any historic landmarks or vestiges of America, the Statue of Liberty, et cetera, right? And not only that, but this Year One policy, it focuses heavily on the indoctrination of children being the future of the Reich. And like gives them special Nazi armbands to say year 1, and indoctrinates them so much to the point where children are ratting out their parents to the state for any sort of controversial behavior that would go antithetical to the Nazis' point of view. So do you follow me so far?
Oh, I already see how this is happening in society today.
So I was just watching this episode, and there was a moment in the school, in the class, when one of their teachers reading and says something about Jews, and it's so disgusting I don't even want to repeat it, but the child speaks up and challenges the teacher, who then becomes terrified of this child is going to go and tell the Nazis, and I'm like, whoa. I'm like, all right, so first of all, I'm not trying to compare, right in this very moment.
Fake Nazis. But
right, I'm not trying to compare real Nazis in the show to, let's say, Democrats or the establishment at the moment directly. But you might, right? But I had that thought, right? and why? Because that scenario reminded me of you. Did you hear the story of the son who ratted out his father? Who went to the Capitol protests in Trump. There was one of these guys went to the Capitol riot, the Capitol protest, whatever you want to call it, and he went there, and his son knew that he went, and he ratted his dad out to the FBI because he felt it was the right thing to do, etc., etc., etc. And I don't want to so much like harp on that one kid. He felt like he was doing the right thing. I want to harp on the response this kid got from the media and from the left-wing social media. They hailed him as a hero, and he did the right thing, and this and that. And it's like, wow. It's like, it reminded me of this, the state rewarding a child for like turning it. Look, I'm Italian, right? Italians, so are you. You don't fucking rat out anybody, even if they did something wrong. You don't rat out, especially your family.
Yeah.
So there's that angle. But it reminded me of the show, and that is a tactic that, like totalitarian regimes will use. Get the children, right? Because children, they're malleable, they're gullible, they want to feel part of something, and if they've been indoctrinated into the system, it's not too much of a stretch to see things could kind of go that way. That if you say, if me and you have kids and we talk about something on the podcast that's controversial.
Yeah, we go against an agenda.
The state wants our kids to report us to their teachers or to somebody.
I think we are only a few months away from that. Perfectly honest with you. First off, I'm not saying I am a Confederate, but look at what they do to the history of the Civil War. I mean, anyone on the Confederate side it just has to be canceled and wiped from the history books. All right, you can't. I saw an article today saying, like, when you study history, you should be upset. When you study history, you should be disturbed. When you study history, you should not want to repeat that. If you study history and you're happy with what you're reading, you're not really studying history.
That's the whole point of studying history.
Yes, to learn from your past mistakes. So a little story, back in October when I was shopping for a Halloween costume, they had all the masks, right? and there was a bunch of Trump masks. And this little kid had a Trump mask on. He goes, "Look, Mommy, I'm a liar. Trump's a liar, right?" Now, it's not my place to say anything. I didn't say anything. Has every word that has come out of Trump's mouth truthful? No. But here is a perfect example as this kid is 5 years old. All he knows from Mommy and Daddy is Trump's bad and he's a liar. Mm-hmm. That's not the truth, though. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. It's not, there's no nuance to this. To what you're teaching your child.
Yes,
there.
Right. you're just teaching him. We don't like this guy, so
he's evil.
Yeah,
right.
He's evil. It doesn't matter what policy he created. It doesn't matter what tax break or anything. Whatever he did, this kid only understands one thing, and he's going to take that with him throughout his life because he truly knows no better. And then you look at the teachers and you look at all these schools, and you can't have a Republican speaking club in college or anything like that.
Now they'll all be labeled bigots and racist.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is already happening, this indoctrination. It's like I said, I think it's only going to get worse from here on out.
I got more to go.
Go for it. Let's see how crazy it gets.
So now, remember, the Nazis in Madden High Castle, they created this year one policy, which, again, I said is changing the history almost of America. So another thing that this reminded me of is, I'm sure you've heard of it, is the 1619 Project. Have you heard of this before?
Probably.
All right. So, again, I'm not, the show and Nazis are like the extreme version of this, and the 1619 Project is not an extreme, it's not at the same level, I'd say, as year one program in a fictional show. But the 1619 Project essentially is trying to rewrite, it's okay, first of all, it's conceived by, let's see, I wrote her name here somewhere. Basically, it was conceived by New York Times and a writer. I forget her name. Sorry. And it's a project, and it essentially tries to rewrite the founding principles of the United States of America. And where did I put it here? Here we go. All right, here it is. So it was conceived by Nicole Hannah Jones and writers from the New York Times. And it infers that America was founded in slavery in 1619 when the first slave ship reached the British colony's shores. And that the colonists fought the revolution in 1776 to protect their slave industry from the abolition movement in Britain, so they're saying that the reason why the colonists fought the revolution was to protect their slave industry from abolition, which is like the freedom of slaves happening in Great Britain. They're saying that that's what the foundation of the country was built on, protecting slavery,
slaves, yeah.
Not on the founding principles of freedom, liberty, justice, equality, etc.
Well, I could already see where this
basically
is going.
Saying that our country is rooted in pure evil because racism and slavery is basically pure evil, right? And that's not true. No. Straight out, that is absolutely not true. Right?
There were people who believed that and fought that way, but
I have proof as why it's not true, right? Because first of all, the abolition in Britain didn't come until 1834, so that's almost 70 years after the American Revolution.
Facts don't matter, but go on.
Right, so abolition was anywhere close to having gone through yet in Britain. It was no threat.
Wasn't even an idea
to the American slave industry, right? And we all know from being kids, the revolution was really fought over economic reasons, right? No taxation without representation. The Boston Tea Party, the guys throwing the fucking crates in the river because they were paying taxes and whatnot to the king, and they were tired of it. It was really, more so than a freedom, liberty, etc. It was really like an economic thing. The colonists were tired of being used by Britain for everything. And lastly, the first casualty, or person who's considered a casualty in the American Revolution, is a black man, he's a famous black man. His name's Crispus Attucks, right? I'm not sure if you've ever heard of him before. And he was killed at the Boston Massacre, which is considered the first shots fired in the American Revolution. He was one of the protesters protesting against Britain, and he was shot and killed because he was approaching the old State House in this protest with clubs. Him and a bunch of other guys were coming up to the old State House with clubs. They were going to fuck shit up.
An insurrection.
And the British soldiers fired on him and killed him, and he was the first person to die. So a black man who was technically on the side against Britain was the first casualty in the American Revolution. So, look, the way I see it, I got into like my feelings here about America, and that's why I wrote America fuck it. I wore my America fuck yeah T-shirt here. Like the founding fathers, they were flawed men, right? They were definitely, some of them were racist. They owned slaves, but they lived in a flawed time. We can't take our morality now and transpose it onto them. If we could learn,
if we went back there right now with the people we have, I can promise you, Jeff Bezos, Biden, Elon Musk, anyone of wealth and power would have slaves. Bottom line, it was the times that was going on. This is why we evolved.
I'm not giving them an excuse either.
Yeah, this is why we evolved to where we are today. You know.
Right. So what I wrote here is like, they owned slaves. They committed terrible acts. The government they founded, promised equality and freedom and etc. And it really only meant that for white men, rich white men, really.
No different than today.
Yeah. And, when you look back in history, you should remember them as such. That's the kind of people that they were in their own personal lives. But their movements, right? Their ideals, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, America was founded on those principles of equality and freedom, even if those guys didn't practice that personally themselves. That is what America was founded on, right? And if it wasn't founded on that, people would have never had the opportunity over all these years to fight to make sure that women have the right to vote and black people have the right to vote, and there shouldn't be Jim Crow laws and on and on and on, right? That is what America is founded on. America gives you the opportunity to make life equal for everybody. That's what it's founded on. Even if in the beginning it was only between an elite group of people, debatable if it still is or isn't, because I'm going to get into that too. But that is what, so just like this idea that people hate America and they want to make America out to see, to be like Nazi Germany. That's not the case.
They only want to make it out to be like Nazi Germany because for the past 4 years, their guy wasn't in the White House.
Right. It's a good point. There's become this derangement over it, That's the beauty of America. Morally, its foundations weren't perfect, but it gave the possibility for people to fight for a more perfect society, which we're still struggling right now to fight.
Fake Woke, the song, he has the goddamn line in it saying how much you hate America and this and that, but America is the only country that gives you the right to say what you're saying without getting stoned to death for saying
exactly.
it. Yeah,
right. 100%, exactly. And I've always said from the podcast where we were talking about the book, A People's History in the United States, the real issue in America has always been, America's always been class, right? The elites have always controlled everything, and they've tried to use racism as a tool to keep the masses divided against each other, right? So I came up with this example of what America was like in the founding times, and I happened to pick a slave ship as the example. Right, so everybody knows, there was ships that came from Africa and they held slaves, and the ships had a lot of slaves on them. I don't know the exact amount, but a lot more than the crew and a lot more than the captain. So as the captain, how do you keep this tremendous amount of people from mutiny? This tremendous amount of slaves, these people from mutinying against you, and taking over the ship and going about their way. You use racism as a weapon. Right, because that's the only way you could maintain this like social structure aboard the ship, right? So, as to compare it to America, the captain, he symbolizes the elite, right? He has
not me.
I don't mean you, just coincidentally, right? The captain of the ship, he has the freedom to make money, become rich, probably vote, do all those sorts of things in this time, right? Because he's rich and he
had away with it.
Exactly. So he's just one guy against, let's say, 99 other guys on the ship. And we'll say that 70 of the guys are black enslaved men and the other 29 are the white workers, right? So how does the one rich white guy get these 99 other people to not get pissed off at him and throw him off, right? You pit the two against each other, right? So you keep the white worker.
Hold on.
Awesome. Time out, guys. We'll be right back.
Technical difficulties. And we're back from our technical difficulties.
Yes, as always, in the captain's quarters here, there's always some sort of technical difficulties.
The zone of no technology.
So let me try and get back to my rant here.
It's of how the captain keeps his ship in order.
I'm trying to draw the comparison of the time of these around 1776, how society was structured, and compare it to the way the structure on board a slave ship goes, right? So I was saying that the captain has to, not you, but the captain has to maintain order and, of 99 guys against him. And he does that using racism as a tool, right? He pays the white workers on the boat less, a lot less than he makes, right? And he convinces them that these people are subhuman and you should, treat them as such, and etc. The slaves don't get any consideration, obviously. Right. They're treated as property, and they're given, just the most horrific treatment whatsoever. But in reality, these white guys, they land on the shores, and they go to America, and they can't vote.
No better off, yeah.
They're poor. They're struggling to make a living. While the captain, not you again, is living, the life of luxury. He gets to vote for president and do this and do that, and he probably lives in a huge homestead and whatnot. And he can't maintain that sort of order without pitting the two classes he feels are beneath him against each other. That's the way America was and still is. There's an elite, group of people that are always pushing this divisive narrative and using racism as a weapon. We were talking about how there's now, because they got their guy in, there hasn't been any coverage of in upstate New York. Oh yeah, the protests and the Black Lives Matter protests and things like that, because it doesn't serve them anymore to do such a thing. But America, if you want to root America in an evil, it's not the inherently moral evil of slavery. It's the inherent moral evil of keeping classes separated. The elite using racism as a tool to keep classes divided so that they can never be threatened. Keep poor white guys as the buffer between me and the Africans and the Native Americans and whatnot. Let me just keep giving them a few cookies, just enough to survive.
A good example is what we saw last week in Wall Street. The everyday citizen made money, and look how upset everyone who isn't a normal, all the John Kerrys, someone like me can only travel this way. All those people who can only travel that way all got upset at us for making a buck. What you ask somebody, oh, you're so rich, how come I can't be rich? Well, you should invest your money. I invested my money. Wait a second, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. The perfect class struggle that you could see was the interview between Dave Portnoy and Chris Como. I know I'm way off topic here.
Oh, go. This is not really off topic. It's on topic.
Well, yeah, kind of. But if you listen to the way Como was talking to Chris Como was talking to Dave Portnoy, and the way Dave Portnoy was talking, they were on two completely different pages. Dave Portnoy is saying, my followers have brains in their heads, and they have free will to make their own decisions. If they can't afford $10,000 going into the stock market, but they put $11,000 in, they deserve to lose. This is why it's a fair and free market. You want to make stupid decisions, you get stupid results. Chris Como isn't worried about the average American losing this fucking money in the stock market. Yeah. No, he's not. He doesn't care what we do. He just doesn't want his hedge fund buddies who run CNN to lose any more money. That's all that this is about. Take a good look at the way they talk and how they talk. Don't worry about what they're talking about. They're on two different pages. Dave Portnoy is clearly for the people, where Como is magically concerned what I do with my money that I earned that your brother taxes from me. Okay? Don't worry. I don't care what you do, Como, with your money that you make from your job. Why should you care about mine? Why are you going after Dave Portnoy saying, well, you have a following? Okay, yeah, he has a following because people trust him, because he respects his following. You know,
he treats them as adults. Yes. I'm not going to tell you what to do or treat you like you're a child and I need to make decisions for you the way that the Cuomo's would.
There's a big difference between someone with a following that people want to follow. That's a natural born leader. And, you know, compared to Governor Cuomo, who, you know, knows what best, and he locked down all these businesses and screwed the fucking little, the mom and pop shops. It's two different. One's a boss and one's a leader. You ever see that picture of the master, exactly. The master whipping the people to move the block? That's the boss. The guy, the leader, is the one behind it pushing while all the men are pulling the block.
He's like the first guy pulling. Right? Yeah, or you could even use an example of like a medieval army charging. Let's use Game of Thrones for example, right? The Battle of the Bastards was a great scene, a great battle, because the leader, Jon Snow, was the first guy charging into battle. Are you more likely to follow Jon Snow, or are you more likely to follow Ramsay Bolton, who was standing behind the front lines shooting arrows at people, not charging in? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And it's that class separation. You know, Portnoy wasn't born, I don't think he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and came from insane amounts of money. If he was, good for him because he doesn't act like it. But you think Chris Cuomo doesn't get any fucking being the #1 news host on CNN and your brother's the governor of New York? No. You never got a free pass before? Can you park in front of a hydrant and not get a ticket? Can you run a red light and not get a ticket? I'm sure it's very easy for you to just write off any tickets you get or anything that happens. Or, you know, there's a club that's too overpacked, but there's a nice table in there for you, you know, not for me and you, but whereas Dave, I feel like, you know, if he got the ticket, he'd have to pay for it. This is why he has this following. It was a great interview. Anytime he's been on with talking about what's been going on with Wall Street Bets, listen, because he's the only one talking the truth.
He knows his shit.
Yeah.
And going back to the 1619 Project and you know, the person who conceived it, Nicole Hannah Jones. I don't really know her, but I don't think she's
voting for Trump.
I also don't think she's some sort of evil mastermind. This is just her idea. And you know, that she's putting out there, and she feels she's right. Yeah. That's fine. That's what America's about. The thing is, when I was going down on the New York Times website, it says for teachers who want to use this material for students in their school, download here, and it's like, oh man, okay, you're trying to promote teachers to teach this to kids. Again, I guess you could do that, but I have a problem with it because I feel like you're inherently wrong. America wasn't founded in pure evil.
No, yeah.
It was founded by some guys who were pretty bad, but America was founded in the opportunity. This is a social experiment. America's a giant social experiment, and the social experiment is random people can make like life better for everybody. And it didn't start out perfect, and it's still not perfect. But to make people, we have a generation now. This is where I'm gonna get on a fucking rant. We have a generation now of people who hate America, who like China, like LeBron James. You know, don't say anything bad about China. You know, but then
trash talk the president.
Come on, man. This is not that bad of a
people don't understand that we have enemies out there. That's how sheltered and sheepish that the sheep don't understand that there's a wolf. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
People like us understand there's wolves out there, and that you need to treat the wolf differently than you treat the other sheep.
You know what? And I know you still haven't watched Man in the High Castle, but the reason why I like this show so much is it shows what may have been, right? If there was no America in the world, but at the same time, the show doesn't whitewash America's flaws at the time either. The show always mentions that America had Japanese internment camps and Jim Crow laws, and how black people were treated as second-class citizens in America. But if you compare in this alternate universe the Nazi Reich, the American Nazi Reich, and there are no black people because they've sent them all to concentration camps and exterminated them, I'd rather take my chances in America, where
with a few white supremacists than
right, and people had the people had the opportunity to make life better, and they have. If the Nazis had won, there's a good chance most people would not be around right now because they'd have totally restructured society like they did in the show. It doesn't forgive all the bad stuff America does, of course, but you're better off with our society the way it is than with another society. And to make our society out to be Nazi Germany is not true. It's not right.
It's got to be so exhausting to be continuously angry at the history of our nation. It's time to move forward. Like, forget Trump, Biden, anything. Like, we get it. We had slaves, but we don't anymore. You know who does have slaves?
China.
Like, you
know who is committing genocide?
Yeah.
China.
Let's focus our anger where it deserves to be focused. I was thinking this the other day. These woke virtue these woke people are so offended and continuously with all these microaggressions. We got to take care of this subsect. We got to take care of this subsect. We got to take care of these people, those people. It has to be an exhausting lifestyle. How do you have... I'm an angry person. I am. I'm not the happiest of people. As Dave Portnoy put it, I'm a prickly guy. Like, I'm not the most cheerful individual. I've been referred to as miserable plenty of times. Yeah. But I'm not 24/7 angry. In one of, Tom MacDonald's songs, he said, when somebody says the word retard, it ruins your weekend, and that's retarded. Like, it has to be nauseatingly exhausting to be this offended about stuff that happened 200 years ago and to be upset about stuff that's happening today. Where does it end? Like, just pick a lane. And I'm not saying to not have your voice heard, but get your shit together. Figure out what you want to be mad at, because we can't change. We're going to take down the statue. Congratulations, you took down a statue. Just like you put in a black woman on, a $20 bill, doesn't change the fact that you're not helping out black communities.
Right. We agree with those things, that we should, as a community, help the communities in our own society that are downtrodden. But right, like you said, putting someone on a bill is not going to actually help those communities. No. We both agree the community should be helped.
Yeah.
Right. And somebody like Donald Trump proposed some plan to help communities. Right. Yeah. And I respected him for that. And as of yet, nothing from Biden and the Democrats. It's early. We'll give them a chance still. But just think about that. Just think about it.
I mean, if that was the beautiful part about this whole Wall Street bets thing. If we could just get our shit together, if just a hair over a quarter of us could get our shit together, we could move fucking mountains. If Black Lives Mattered really mattered, and I'm not saying they're not, the idea's great, the organization's garbage. If Black Lives Mattered really mattered...
Yeah, the organization, you mean.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they would be able to move mountains and get shit fixed. If, you know what I mean? Like, if everybody was so proud and happy when Kamala became the VP and women can do everything, where the fuck were you during the primaries? You know what I mean? Like, we have the power to band together and make shit happen, but you don't want to, because me and you might want to, save black communities, but because I voted for Trump, I'm not allowed to help black communities. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the point we're at. Like, just put the shit aside, put your big boy pants, put your big person pants on. I'll even be politically correct for everybody, and just do what needs to be done. Stop worrying about shit that happened 200 years ago.
But we can't, because we're stuck in this class warfare, and the elites are constantly using racism and whatnot as a weapon of division, so that people, the masses, cannot band together to face those issues, to come together as a community and focus our energy and our resources on helping communities within our country's one big ass community, right? And some parts of our community are better off than other parts. But as one big ass community, we should try and help those parts that are not as good off, right? But we can't do that if we're worried about what the fuck George Washington did in 1776 or the colonists. That doesn't matter right now.
Or we're worried if somebody isn't learning about their gender studies in Pakistan.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
all possible.
Or if no one in Mexico could get an abortion on our dime.
I'm still hopeful. Like, everything could be made better, but we have to wake up and realize that
it's not going to happen.
We're being played.
It's not going to happen until blood is spilled. I hate to say it. I hate to be as dark as I am.
Not condoning violence.
I'm not condoning violence, but
YouTube.
It's just, I don't see, nobody's going to wake up until that big event takes place. And it doesn't need to be bloodshed. It doesn't even need to be some type of war.
I'm going to disagree with you, because when that event takes place, they'll spin it to their advantage.
Oh, no, this event it would have to be so definingly unquestionable, like 90% of the country would have to be like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, it would have to be some type of aliens.
I don't see it.
Aliens would have to invade and just start throwing people.
So you mean violence? You don't mean violence of us against other people. You mean violence could be like aliens come and we have to all unite against aliens. So that's what he meant by violence. Violence against aliens, not against people.
Something has to happen that will force us to wake up and be unified. And until the media gets shut down. No. You know what I'm saying? Even if there's the media out there saying X, Y, and Z, we're like, no, we saw A, B, and C. Fuck you guys.
Let's go off the rails here and talk theoretically. If aliens did come to the Earth and were hostile and were attacking the Earth, you'd think human beings would unite together.
Right now, but I always said though, and this was a theory of mine for years and years. The only way we would ever see true world peace is if we were invaded by aliens and Afghanistan and Iran and Russia and China and America and every world power had to be okay, pause this game. We gotta nuke the shit out of these people.
I don't agree, because if aliens,
and somebody would cut a deal before someone else.
We might unite, unite as the human race and fight back together against these aliens. And it might be kumbaya, and we did it, and we defeated the aliens, and we saved the Earth.
They won back to war, yeah.
But as soon as that's over and the aliens are no longer a threat, if President whatever survives, you don't think he's going to go right back to his agenda he
100%.
had before. He's going to count his lucky stars. He survived the alien attack, but they're going to go right back to the same agenda. And at the end of the day, I don't know. I'm not a fucking scientist, but we're advanced monkeys that have missils and we shoot them at each other. But when you go look at monkeys, they're fighting wars against each other all the time, and it's in our nature to want to fight each other. We might unite. We're good at war, right? So if another entity comes to attack us, we're good at that. Yeah. So we could unite to fight them off. But as soon as they're gone, we're going to look to fight each other again because that's what we love to do.
There's money to be made.
If you think about it, you could think of Nazi Germany as the aliens, right? We united as a country to fight that threat, but as soon as the threat was over, there's another war to be fought. Yeah. The Soviets, etc. There's always
going to be something.
It's human nature to want war, to want to fight each other, I guess.
The whole complex would have to be just evaporated and diminished. We would have to have our own
violence.
Year one.
That's why violence, in my opinion, it's not really the answer, because violence just, I think it was
perpetuates more violence.
Violence begets more violence, and then when you commit violence, they're going to use that violence against you. As an example of everything you stand for needs to be discounted now because you committed violence, like the Capitol riot. Right.
Didn't matter that small businesses were burned down all summer long. It only matters that this one time,
because the powers that be will use they will use a crisis. What was it that
they'll never let a crisis
Chamberlain
go.
said, "Never let a good crisis go to waste."
Yeah.
I think it's a good spot to end it there.
Yeah, my blood pressure's starting to get up.
Sorry.
I'm looking for violence now. All right. Any last words? Anything else? You good?
Nope.
All right, Doom Nation, thank you for tuning in to us for another episode. Thank you guys for the huge response on our last week's episode. We got the new review out for Show 'em the Can, the Captain Dynamite IPA from Voodoo Ranger. As always, you can find us everywhere Trump is banned. Instagram and Gab is at 2DoomMen_podcast. Facebook and Twitter is at 2DoomMen. Where can they find us on Rumble? How do you?
Yeah, Rumble is like a competitor of YouTube. We put a few videos on there, but I'm not 100% sold on how much I like this site. But I do like it because it's a little bit. There's alternatives to the major players in social media and YouTube and etc. Yep. So I'm trying to diversify everywhere we're at.
Diversify your bonds.
Yes.
And as always, you could hear us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and anywhere podcasts are heard. Basically. Doom Nation, thank you again. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
See you later.
Adios.